Water, heal my body. Water, heal my soul. When I go down, down by the water, I feel whole. Water, heal my body. Water, heal my soul. When I go down, down by the water, I feel whole. Good morning. Good morning and good Sunday. I hope that this new day finds you well. My name is Leon Dunkley. I minister here at North Chapel, or North Universalist Chapel Society in Woodstock, Vermont. I'm so glad to see you this morning. Today is Sunday, July 26th, and for this morning's reflection, we have a conversation with Sherri Mitchell, lawyer, author, teacher, activist. Sherri Mitchell is witness to and the creative force behind a book called Sacred Instructions, Indigenous Wisdom for Living Spirit-Based Change. Her book has been described as a roadmap for the spirit and a compass of compassion for humanity. Hers is a message of deep healing and spiritual recovery at a very powerful time, at what is perhaps the most critical time in the history of our world. We need healing right now. We are sorely in need of healing in so many different ways, and it takes a lot of patience to truly heal. We have to learn how to be patient, how to be still. As bones knit themselves together, as souls mend, as hearts unbreak. We need to be quiet and still. We need to be patient with ourselves. Patient enough to go with the flow. The deep flow of life, the flow that guides the river to the sea, the flow that keeps comets swinging wild-eyed around the sun, the flow that leads us home again into one another's arms. Healing, gather we this day strength and courage enough to truly heal. Gather we the patience and the courage and the might so that we might rise as we are willing and as we are able to join in the singing of this morning's hymn. Gather the Spirit. To all souls I say good morning. It's good to be together. But we will march with the spirit of love and with the spirit of dignity that we have shown here today. John Lewis, 1963. This is the moment in our service for the sharing of joys and concerns. If you have a joy or concern in your heart, I invite you to call it to the forefront of your attention at this time. I invite you to speak the names of those for whom you are concerned and speak of their troubles. I invite you to hold their troubles dear in your heart and send their energy over to North Chapel at this time. Let those concerns, let those joys gather like separate winds into a single sail. Let's conjoin these winds together here today. As lawnmowers go by, as sunset happens, as life happens all around us, let's invite the here and the imperfect now into our fullness and into our grace. And let's hold this moment of joys and concerns for ourselves and for one another. Ritually, I light 3 candles. One for those who are ill in the name of recovery, Godspeed. Another candle for those who suffer for the lack of resources, may these needs be met. And a third candle for those of us who experience fear, anxiety, and anger. A candle burns for our strength, our resilience, and our courage. For this and for so many other things, for the joys that have been spoken and for those that remain in the sanctuary of our hearts, I light one more candle. May we hold all of this in compassionate community as we enter a time of meditation and prayerfulness.
Indali Spazuel, good morning. Indali Wisi Wanahamugwasit, Najio Banawabskewi, Indil Nabama Gawasus Nildam Banawabskewi, Nagakakagus Niltibayik, Nilita Haziu, and Diane. Good morning. My name is Sherri Mitchell, Wanahamugwasit. I'm from the Penobscot Nation, and I want to thank you for allowing me to be here to share with you this morning. Thank you to my friend, Reverend Dunkley, for inviting me to be a part of this service this morning. I want to share with you a story that comes from our tradition that is an ancient story that has been passed down through the generations that is a really accurate reflection of what we're going through at this time. It actually has been astounding to me to see the consistency with this story and our present reality. So the story is a story of our first illness. And in this story, human beings, who are the youngest species on the planet, had lost their way. They had forgotten their connectivity to the rest of creation. And they had begun behaving in ways that were harming other species on the planet. And so the animals went into council together and said, what do we do about this? Our younger relatives, the human beings, they're causing all kinds of destruction, and they're harming the other animals, and they're harming the tree people and the plant people, and they're harming the bird people, and they're damaging the waters. And so the animals deliberated for a long time. It was a hard decision for them because they loved their younger siblings, the human beings. In fact, in most of our creation stories, the animals sacrificed themselves in many ways to make it possible for human beings to live upon Mother Earth. So they had a great love for human beings and see them as their younger relatives. But they finally made a decision that human beings had to be given a lesson so that they could recognize their interrelatedness with the rest of life. So the animals decided that they were going to give human beings illness in order to teach them about their interrelatedness and the consequences of their actions in damaging the natural world for all other living beings. And so human beings began to become very, very sick, and many of them died. And over time, the suffering became very great because the illness that was given to humans by the animals wasn't easily dealt with man-made medicine. Man-made medicine wasn't doing very much to stop the progression of the illness or the deaths in the human beings. And the plants had been watching, and the trees had been watching for a long time, and watching the humans suffering. And they went into council, and they decided that if this younger relative would come back to them with some humility and ask them for help, ask them for guidance, then the plants and the trees would give the human beings the medicine that they needed to be able to heal themselves. And so they decided that they would send that message out to the human beings on a dream. And so that message went out on a dream to the human beings, and one grandmother picked it up. She picked up the message, and when she woke from the dream, she went immediately to the forest and began communicating once again with the plants and the trees. And the plants and the trees watched her for quite some time to see if there was sincerity and humility in her heart. And they determined that there was. And so they began to communicate back to her, and they informed her of the things that she would have to do in order to be able to heal her people. And so they taught her which plant medicines were going to be best. They taught her how to prepare them and how to dose those medicines to the people. And so she listened to what the plants and the trees were telling her, and she went back and she began to care for and to heal her people. And when the people from her community began to be well, they decided that they were going to move their village back closer to the forest so that they could live again in relationship with the rest of creation. And so there were other others who heard the same message, but they discarded that message. They disregarded the wisdom that was being offered to them. There were total nine villages of human beings. And of the 9 villages of human beings, only one listened. And that's why there's only one humanoid species that survived into the present day on Mother Earth, because the others did not listen to the wisdom of their relatives in the natural world, and they didn't return to a way of interrelatedness and interbeing with the rest of life. And so the story as I hear it from my own people, that I heard it when I was a child, is that we are born of those people who went back to the forest, who went back to living in alignment with the rest of creation. And so when we look at the situation that we're in right now, where human beings are being forced to enter into this period of isolation because of an illness that's been given to us by animals, and that is not being very responsive to man-made medicine. It reminds me of this story, and it reminds me of the truth that we can't escape the consequences of our interrelatedness forever. And so now here we are, and we're in a position where we are having to face the consequences of our interrelatedness. And we're doing so by being isolated within our homes as we're in lockdown. Well, many of us are, as an expression not only of our own desire to be healthy and well, but also as a measure of our commitment to care for the well-being of our friends, neighbors, and families. And so as we're engaging in this exercise, this global exercise of quarantine, of isolation, it's a really beautiful opportunity for us to look at the illusion that has led us to this place and time. And so if we trace all warfare, if we trace all of the harm that human beings have done while upon Mother Earth, we can trace that back to one deviation of thought, and that is the belief in separation. And if we start taking advantage of this incredible opportunity that we have to really work on this illusion of separation, when we come out of this time, we are going to come out of this time far more unified than when we went in. And I think that we have many of us have been experiencing this incredible loneliness during this time. Many of us have been feeling exhausted because of the lack of engagement with the energy of our loved ones. We have this energy exchange that takes place when we're interacting with those that are around us, especially those who are in alignment with our own vibration and frequency. And so now we're being forced to not have this physical contact with our relatives, and it's depleting our energy. And so what we need to do during this time is we need to learn how to move beyond this illusion of separation and to begin exchanging energy again in a way that allows for us to replenish our spiritual and energetic stores. And the way to do that is for us to move through all of the layers of this illusion of separation to realize that we can reach out and be connected to those who we are looking at across the screens, or even those who we sit and we're thinking about, that we can reach out spiritually to them. We can reach out energetically to them. We can establish a time when we're going to sit and we're going to be in communion with one another and sharing our love and our energy with one another. And over time, as we continue to move through the illusion of separation, we continue to engage in this process of conscious connection, we're going to realize that the distance that we're feeling from one another is simply another illusion. And that, perhaps this exercise that we're all engaged in is intended to teach us that we are not separated from one another, that we can remain in close contact with one another on an energetic and spiritual level. And so one of our other stories is a story about the web of life. And you see all kinds of these kind of quaint or even trite memes about the indigenous web of life. What we're talking about when we're talking about the web of life is we're talking about quantum entanglement. We're recognizing that we are all born out of one seed of life, and that the matter that makes up our being was once physically connected to the matter that makes up all life and everything that exists within the known universe. And that once matter is physically connected, it can never be energetically or spiritually disconnected. And so we're moving through levels of understanding the depth of that knowledge. And right now, this is a perfect time for us to really accelerate our learning in regard to our evolutionary consciousness, so that we recognize that even the physical distance that we're required to be a part of right now is part of an illusion of mind that has kept us divided. And as we work through this time of incredible division on the planet, where we're looking at all of these different levels of division that are rising up: racial division, economic division, political division, division based on conspiracy theories, whatever it is. There's all of these different levels of division that are currently at play within our society. And we have the capacity right now to be able to elevate our vibrational frequency, to amplify the wisdom of our own hearts, and to move beyond these illusions of separation into a period of much deeper, more profound, and more deeply meaningful connections with one another. And so I would like to encourage everyone who is feeling down during this time, who is feeling low energy during this time, to find one or two people that you can sit with in a conscious moment of connection, where you're sending your love and your energy to them, and they're sending their love and their energy to you, and then you engage in discussion on how you're receiving that energy, how you're receiving that love, and begin to recognize that the illusions that we've been operating under, that have kept us separated for so long, are a sad facade that are preventing us from having the type of deep relationship that we are meant to have with one another. And so in closing, I just want to say that I wish you all happiness. I wish you all connection. I wish you all deep, deep love and vibrant health. So thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this and for sharing these messages with you this morning.